deja vu feeling standing here. Some of you know the last time I stood here. I stood here with an awful lot of you in November. I had just been handed a note that the audience didn't know yet, and I came up and said the AP has called Virginia for Barack Obama. And then as I was sharing that with you, I got another note that said the AP has called the United States for president. So I'm going to rub this podium a little bit, rub my feet on the stage, because I feel very, very good. What a great crowd. Thank you all for being here. Mark Warner's tenure under mine, you know that both in 2005 and 2008, Virginia has been named the best managed state in America. And did you know that we have even been named by Education Week as the state where a child is most likely to have a successful life? That's what democratic leadership means. Common sense leadership that puts people first, that finds the solutions to the everyday issues that everyday people care about. When Governor Mark Warner was faced with some challenging times and had to reform Virginia's budget to invest more in education at the K-12 and higher ed level, it wasn't easy, but Creigh was right there, pulling the oar with him to make sure we did what was right for the country. When I was fighting to expand pre-K education in Virginia, Creigh was right there with me to make sure that it happened. When I worked to put together the biggest higher ed bond package in the history of Virginia to expand college access, Creigh was right there with me, working to make it happen. And let me tell you something. I know Creigh opponent as well, Bob McDonnell, and I will say I honor his public service. He's a good guy, but he has a very different philosophy of government than what has worked for Virginia in the last 7 years. Because when Mark Warner was reforming the budget in 2004 with Creigh help, Bob McDonnell was fighting against him. When we were trying to advance educational spending or find solutions to transportation challenges in Virginia during my term, Bob McDonnell and other House Republicans were fighting against progress. And just recently, Bob McDonnell laid out a plan for education. Now, Creigh is talking about pre-K and higher ed access and research to promote green jobs. Bob McDonnell's transportation plan is take $500 million a year out of education funds to use for transportation. That is no solution. The choice this November could not be clearer. In our candidate, Creigh, we have a man of uncompromising moral integrity, a heart as big as the outdoors, and the vision to keep Virginia moving the right way. Please welcome our next governor, Creigh.
Virginians also deserve a governor who has a detailed vision for maintaining our great public schools and our world-class. We've got to do the best we can to prepare our children for the jobs and the opportunities of tomorrow. And we do it through public education. We need to build on what Mark Warner and Tim Kaine have already started here in Virginia, and on what President Obama has the vision to advocate across the nation by investing in quality pre-K education for every child. You see, I know something about the power and the potential that can be unleashed when a child has access to quality public education. Motivated my own public service for the past 22 years. That's why I stood with leaders from the realm of education across this Commonwealth this past year and demanded no permanent cuts for education, even in tough times. That's why I stood with Mark Warner and Tim Kaine during the historic 2004 budget reform fight, when we made the largest increase in funding in public education in our history. Now let me say this. I believe my opponent in this race is a decent man, and I respect his public service.
We love you!
But I must also tell you this. At every significant moment, when there was a serious choice to be made, when there was no opportunity for him, when there was an opportunity for him to be about moving Virginia forward, my opponent chose the ideological approach instead of working together. Every time. At every key moment when events or issues called for bipartisan agreement and consensus for putting Virginia's interest and Virginia's future above mere partisan advantage, my opponent made the wrong choice. And on the issue we're talking about today, education, my opponent talks about his support for public education. And I'll tell you what, friends, it's easy to talk a good game in an election year. But he has a long record of opposing funding for public schools, opposing funding for school construction, opposing pre-K programs, and just a few weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, my opponent put forward a transportation plan that takes $5.4 billion out of public education the next 10 years. And those are his estimates. I'll tell you, we can't afford that. We can't afford to take Virginia back. We can't afford to let anyone take Virginia back. In this election, defeat is not an alternative.